the scholarship. When we went there with my mom, he took a look at me and said, and gave my mom a dressing down of the century. He said, this one will never come back to this country. Why do you want the government to imprison me? My mom went to the office crying, and a junior officer guaranteed. And he said, by the time she finishes, I would have retired or been dead, so they can't get me to repay this money. I never knew why I never traveled out of the country, because it was a full scholarship up to this day. Everybody knows that my husband was supposed to go to Zambia to do medicine. But at the last minute, he came to Lagos. We met, and after 1 month, as I said, he started telling people we are getting married. We settled that. Then I went to my mom. I said, this is the man I want to marry. And my mom said, you give me some time. I'll talk to you. What happened was that my mom went and stayed fasting and praying for 3 days. And she said she was never going to leave the church until she had an answer. On the third night, my mom had a vision in 1980 that Judge Albert Omore Magoha was destined to be a great man, and that he needed me, and she had to allow me to get married to him. So my mom came back crying and said her hands were tied. But she gave my husband 2 conditions. The first one was that I had to finish my undergraduate studies. The second one was that if he married her daughter, he had to marry her too. And he asked me, what was that about? I said, it meant from now on, I've transferred responsibilities to you. You take care of my mom. You bury my mom if she goes before you. Since 1989, my husband made sure he paid for my mother's air ticket every year until she passed on in 2008. My mom became a spiritual godmother to my husband. And that is why when my mom passed on, my husband thought his life was over. When the promotion started, each time my mom came, we said, not yet, still more coming, every year. Until she passed on, she kept on telling him, still more coming, still more coming. And everything she said came to pass. With all that has happened, I believe my mom's vision has finally come true 43 years after. The second friend of my father was a urologist. He made sure my husband was a urologist. Professor Nkboson from the University of Ibadan. Will you call that destiny? Will you call the way we met? And the fact that my father-in-law, my late father-in-law, moved us from the ancestral home to Umiru. Things just don't happen. He settled us. From then on, my husband's life has been on 3 pillars. He's God that made him. Staré that molded him, and medicine. Everything of his, he did in medical precision. You take history, which is the problem, you investigate, make a diagnosis, and make a decision. Some people found it odd. We medics, we don't have time for storytelling. It's either this or that. And you go to theater. When you go to theater, when you come out, relatives are waiting. The first thing is, how was the surgery? Among those relatives, there are people who wish the operation never succeeded because they had their own timetable. And then there are those who are truly happy that the operation succeeded. So all the things my husband did, it was like having dinner with the devil. Devil in the sense that they say when you're having dinner with the devil, you use a long spoon so that your two fingers don't touch each other. You don't know what the devil has put in his nails so that they touch you, and when you take to your mouth and you eat, it will be over. So in the morning, when the devil is calling you to find out if you are dead, he asks you, your voice has changed, just to make sure that you are the same one. And you answer back and say, no, it is that nice food of yours that has made my voice to change. Thank you very much for making me have such a good meal with you. So he always prepared for the battle. That's why they say he was obsessed with success. Because each time you pass one battlefield, you prepare for the other. After all, life itself is battle. I'll never complain. I had him for 40 years. I'll be very ungrateful if I did that. There are people who have had marriages of lesser years. I thank God, and I have accepted. We were a team. He looked over my back, and I looked over his. In marriage, we all know there's nothing like 50-50. There's always one person sacrificing more than the other. It could be 40, 70, but everything just came to 100. We understood that. And as a couple, we worked through that. The fact that a vision was made did not mean that everything was going to be smooth. He was not perfect, neither was I. Neither did we have a perfect relationship. But we worked through it, knowing that marriage is about 80-20. 80% meaning what the two of you share in common. The other 20% is what may divide you. So we increase the 80% and reduce the 20% in our lives to make it 0.2%. And in that way, we had a perfect marriage. My husband did surgery up to the end. 2 hours, I turned from Mrs. to a widow. He was okay. He was not sick. We talked. He went on the day of, on the 24th of January. He went out, bought things to buy things for the late brother's funeral. At 2 o'clock, he told me he was chesty. I told him to rest, due to the stress, that he should rest. At 2:30, he asked me for a cough mixture, and I just pointed to him, my own cough mixture. I pointed to him and walked away because I was ironing to go to work. And one thing I liked about my husband is that he allowed me to grow. So my professional career was something of importance to him.